Hey everybody, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Once again, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. Season 2, Episode 6. Today, I've got a very interesting topic for you today. First of all, I do want to start this off by saying my sympathies are with the people of the UK and with the Commonwealth of Nations. As yesterday, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, passed away at the age of 99. Second of all, for my Thai audience, I want to wish you all a happy Songkran. Songkran is the Thai New Year, and it is celebrated for 1 week. A lot of fun, but unfortunately, a lot of the events for Songkran are canceled because of the COVID pandemic. So, if you're going to celebrate Songkran with your families, just celebrate it safely. Celebrate the social distancing, and happy Thai New Year, everybody. In July of 2018, I relocated from San Francisco, California, to Bangkok, Thailand, and began my studies at Assumption University of Thailand in communication arts, digital media communication. And wow, what a journey it has been. 3 months from now, it will be 3 years since I've lived in Thailand. I don't regret ever moving here to Thailand. I have good days, I have bad days, but overall, it has been such an amazing experience. I'll tell you a little bit about my life before I moved to Thailand. In California, I was studying at City College of San Francisco, studying there for about a year. First, I was studying criminal justice, but then decided to switch to digital media because it had been a passion of mine since I was young. In San Francisco, I was studying and working and studying. I used to work part-time for a jewelry shop at Pier 39 called California Indian Market and Jewelry, and they sold Native American jewelries, as well as I drove Uber. Mr. Calitraveler here used to be an Uber driver, and I've got some stories which I'm going to talk about in later episodes. Uber, and I used to drive Lyft, because in the US, they have both Uber and Lyft. Whereas here in Southeast Asia, they have Grab, which actually bought out Uber, and Grab is based out of Singapore. I used to work real hard. I would get up at around 7 in the morning, have some coffee, get ready for the day. I'd head out, drive a little bit of Uber in the morning, and then I would head to class. I took that. As soon as I got done with class, which was around 12 o'clock, it was a 3-hour class, I'd get in my car, and I would drive to Stonestown Galleria, which is a mall in San Francisco, right off of 19th Avenue, which 19th Avenue carries California Highway 1, which is also known as the Pacific Coast Highway. Or if you're up in my part of California, Northern California, it's called the Cabrillo Highway, named after Juan Cabrillo, who was the Spanish explorer who discovered California. Typically, I did most of my Uber rides from the airport. It's great money picking up passengers from the airport because you'll go very far distances. You might just go to San Francisco, you might go across the bay to Oakland, you might go to San Jose, or you might go out of town to Sacramento, which is what I've done a couple of times. Sometimes the wait at the queue at the airport would be roughly around maybe about 1 or 2 hours, which was great because I barely got any sleep because I was just working my ass off all the time. So I'd take a nap for about an hour, wake up, feel great again. Sometimes I would see Uber drivers that I was friends with, and we'd all just talk, constantly do these trips to the airport, which was great. Met some amazing people as well. And typically, I wouldn't get finished until about 3 a.m. And I would do this every single day I would work. The only times I wouldn't work are when I was sick. But other than that, I was always out and about, driving Uber. And unfortunately, my grades at City College San Francisco, they were okay, but they weren't the greatest. Not typically what I would get in terms of grades in my GPA. But I got an opportunity to come here 3 years ago, and I took it. I was going through some things in my life at that time, and I wanted to give myself a fresh start. So for those of you that don't know this, I used to be married. I was married when I was 22 and got divorced 1 year later. But her and I had been together for almost 3 years. And when I got that opportunity to come here, I took it as, this is something I want to do. I was very passionate about studying abroad or living abroad. It had been something that had been on my mind 9 or 10 years. Because I had an opportunity when I was in high school to study in Australia. Unfortunately, 16-year-old me didn't get to go because my mom didn't think it was a good trip for me. I came here to Thailand. And when I first came here, I didn't really know much about Thai culture. I didn't know much about Thai language. I didn't really know much about Thailand other than Bangkok. I came here, didn't really know how to speak Thai. All I knew how to say was hello, which is sawadee krap. Now, for ladies, you would say sawadee ka. But for men, you have to say sawadee krap. I end up learning so much from my experiences here. Really, what Thailand has actually done for me is Thailand has opened up my mind and has opened up my eyes to amazing experiences, to an amazing culture, and just overall getting to see a little bit more of the world. Yes, in the US, it's diverse. You have all of these cultures, meshed into one nation. But when you come here, you get to see the culture, and I mean authentic culture. So it has been an absolute amazing experience. And now I always say to keep moving forward, but if I could honestly rewind time and start this journey all over again and keep going, I would. Because that's how amazing of an experience I've truly had in Thailand. I have seen the world through a different perspective. I've learned more about a different culture. In fact, I can speak a little Thai. Pu Thai Dai Nit Noi, which means I can speak a little Thai. I've met amazing people here. My life has definitely differed because I've grown a lot more as a person. Because before, I was somewhat of a person who was closed off. I was somewhat of a person who didn't really care about anything else but himself. But coming here, it's definitely shown me that I've got to be more of a caring person and be more of an open person. The last 3 years, I furthered my education, getting a good GPA, and I've met some amazing people. This is simply how my life has changed in Thailand. I don't know what the future will bring, but all I know is that I'll keep growing from it. Podcast can be heard weekly on my YouTube channel, so subscribe to Calitraveler 93, as well as liking my Facebook page, Calitraveler 93, and the podcast will be available on Spotify and other platforms.